What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Spook. I am your host, Omega Cop Officer Hatfield. Joining me this week is Officer Davis,
Spook,
Officer Claiborne,
thanks, Commish,
and very special guest Omega Man is joining us today.
Welcome, Omega Man.
Not the hero we deserve, but the hero we need. He works very closely alongside the Omega Cops to ensure peace in San Francisco. Here we're located.
You know, it may seem strange that we have a coworker who we don't know the identity of, but it's as you always say, it's to protect your family.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Of course, Omega Man is wearing his costume today. The three of us, though, are not wearing our costumes. We have taken our costumes off. Much like Superman, we wear a costume every day to hide our true identity as the Omega Cops.
And because regular clothes are just itchier than this.
That's true, yeah. Of course, it's been an open secret with our viewers and listeners that we are the Omega Cops, so we're actually happy to be able to sort of reveal our true selves to you today.
Okay.
Here on the show.
Just quick background. Omega Cops is an anagram for Game Scoop. We think that's funny.
Yeah.
But so is Camp Goose, and we could just dress up as that next year.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah.
We could be the Camp Goose. Like, you take a leg. I'll take a wing.
I'll be the tent.
Someone's got to be the beak.
Someone's got to be.
Omega Man, you're the beak
got it
next
covered.
year. Okay. You have a year to get a beak
You have
costume
kind of a
going.
beak-like thing going there.
Well, anyway, we have a great episode of Game Spook ahead of you today. We're going to be talking about some spooky games coming up
Spooky.
on the horizon. We're going to be talking about the hottest video game console of 2020.
Whoa.
The next-gen console wars have begun.
That's not even next year.
Damn it.
I know.
Say boo first.
Boo first!
Yes.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is upon us.
It is.
IGN's review is out there.
Yeah.
Our reviewer, Luke Riley in Australia, gave it a 10. The third 10 we've given out this year.
He's one of two people that's beaten Red Dead that we know. The other is Omega Man right here.
Yeah, hi, I've beaten it.
You beat Red Dead Redemption 2.
I have
I don't even know
finished
how
the
that's
campaign.
possible.
Yep.
It's
How many
obviously
hours? Like 60, about what they
like
said.
60, yeah.
Yeah.
What they say. Yeah.
In costume.
Yeah.
Uniform.
You guys want to know about it?
Yes.
All right,
Obviously, our reviewer gave it a 10, liked it a lot. What do you think about the game?
It's pretty incredible what they've managed to do from a technical standpoint. They have a lot of really cool systems in place. Like,
No, go ahead. We're taking you very seriously right now. Please continue.
They have a lot of
Wait,
cool
hold on.
systems in
Just,
place.
can you run through the expressions of you being happy and upset
Yeah.
just so
give
we
us
can...
give us happy.
I can't do it now.
Give us
Yeah, you can. Happy?
You're just
Give us-
happy?
That's angry. Well, that's happy?
that's happy.
Anger.
Okay,
Okay.
anger.
Anger. Give us happy.
Oh, you get a little twinkle in your eye when you're happy.
give us pensive. Thoughtful.
Wow, that's kind of like Blue Steel. Okay, anyway, Red Dead
Sorry
Redemption
for the
2.
interruption.
For the people listening at home,
Lost my train of thought.
you think it's very impressive.
It's very impressive. There's a lot of little technical details. Like when you fire a gun, the cartridges are individual from like a revolver. You put in a bullet in each of the chambers. If you only fire a few, you can actually see light through the barrels that you shot out of.
Oh, okay, cool.
The weather system. We put up this video about the weather system. I don't know who made it, but it's pretty good.
Rockstar.
Rockstar made that. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. My only thing is I want to let people know that you might be doing a lot of traveling on your horse. So in between missions, it'll sometimes take a long time to get there. And that can be a little slow. I think that's purposeful by design. And
Well, put those things all together. Do you think it's slow?
yes.
Overall.
I think the pacing is slow and I think it's purposeful. They want you to feel like you're in a real world, and that means you're going to take time to get places.
So you liked the slowness like our reviewer did.
Not
Or sometimes you
completely.
did. Sometimes you respected
I
it.
was a little bit like, I just want to do this next story mission, but I have to wait now. So I'll take a break and then I'll come back to the game. But I played in like I finished it in 4 days, which is not what you're supposed to
That's insane.
play it.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
You truly are a hero.
Thank you. Yeah, so finished it over 4 days. Don't play it like that. Play it at your own pace. Enjoy the side missions.
Play it over
Enjoy
4 years, probably.
It's definitely a very, very deliberately paced game, and it's not afraid of downtime, and it's not afraid of sort of punctuating. Like you'll have long stretches of talking to your campmates, you know, hunting, not humping.
Wow.
Well,
That's probably some
Maybe a
humping
little
in
bit
there,
of
too.
humping, hunting, and just these sort of quiet moments are long. Like there's
Is the humping really slow?
Well, I don't know if it's slow humping or fast ass humping. And then that'll sort of be punctuated by sort of a massive shootout that takes over a whole town. But this is not. I would not characterize it as an action-packed game. Like it's.
And how far are you in it?
My percentage is 22%, so I don't know what.
And you
that
think you're probably 15
means.
hours or something, right?
Yeah, probably 15 hours is a good
You're further
guess.
than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, at first I didn't like it, but then as I played it more and more, I kind of like accepted
Like
what they
definitively,
were.
you didn't like it when you first started it.
I didn't like the long periods in between
okay.
story missions where you just have to ride or just kind of be immersed in the world. But then once I started accepting what they were going for, I was able to let myself enjoy the game more. And I actually, overall, like once you go through this whole story, it actually helps be more impactful because of those moments you've had at your camp with your campmates and such. So I like that. The only other critique I have, though, is with the combat. Oftentimes I'd be trying to take cover. And because so many things are mapped to the right trigger, sometimes I'd be trying to hold somebody up and I just shoot them in the face. And I'd be like, nope, well.
There's a lot of
Take that back.
accidental crime just because of the controls, in my experience.
Yeah. So I'll be like running somewhere and I'll tap Y to get on my horse. I'll tackle a guy and they'll be like, hey, you, that was an assault. I'm like, no, I want to get on my horse.
And then inevitably you just have to murder everyone. That's your
So
only way out.
I slaughter everybody.
Yeah. I think the game's going to be more divisive than a game like GTA 5. I don't think that this is a game for like, twitchy, short attention span gamers. Like, I think it's a game for people that, are interested in character nuance. And like, Dutch, the leader of your gang, is an interesting character. Like, he's very villainous, which I don't think is too much of a spoiler to say that. But he also cares a lot about his gang members, and the people that are in his crew, and the sort of nuance of how he interacts with them is the deeper you get into this game, the more and more it sort of becomes about, those relationships and connections and Arthur's past. And, if you slow down and enjoy this story and enjoy this game world and sort of after a mission, I'm going to take a bath and clean Arthur off. After a mission, I'm going to go eat some stew at camp and catch up with my campmates and just sort of allow yourself to be enveloped in this world and slow down the pace, including me. Like, I'm normally just zipping around games as fast as I can, but if you can sort of force yourself to get out of that video gamey habit, I think you'll have a lot more fun with Red Dead.
Yeah.
Speaking on Dutch, like what a fantastic character arc that we get to see throughout the story of Red Dead Redemption. And we know what happens.
We're going to keep it spoiler free.
Yeah, keeping it spoiler free, but like it's just we know what happens with Dutch in
If
the
you've played
original
Red Dead
game. If you've
Redemption,
played the original game, and it's just really cool to see him because this is a prequel in his like heyday, basically. Like, I'm trying to not spoil anything for anybody, but
Horse is eat hay.
But I really, really think that this is some of the best character storytelling I've ever experienced in a video game.
I agree with that.
Like up there with a Naughty Dog game, and I love
Or like a Telltale game, which is all kind of like mashed in there.
I mean, the game, it's more sim-y than I expected. You have to eat food every once in a while. And it's not like overbearing, like after every mission, I have to stop and eat some food, and you have to feed your horse and you have to, clean yourself off. And when you buy things from a store, you're not buying them from a menu. You're walking around a store and sort of looking at the items you want and buying what you want to buy and like grounding you in this space. And Arthur is a character that exists in this game world. And Rockstar goes to extreme lengths to not make it feel like a video game world. That's neither. I mean, you kind of have to decide for yourself if that's something you're interested in, but it feels very, very different than a game like Assassin's Creed is the open world game I'm coming off of, where I love that game, but that game is video gamey as hell. And like, Red Dead is at the extreme other end of that.
Sam,
So-
how are you finding it?
So, you hear me talk about this a lot. I love open world games and I love exploration. So I'll talk about that a little bit. But prefacing it with it's the best looking game I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
For realism. I think Breath of the Wild and games and Wind Waker and
stylized.
stuff that are stylized, that's a whole different category for me.
What platform are you on, Sam?
I'm playing on Xbox One X.
Yeah, I did too. And Justin, you're on PlayStation, right?
I'm on a vanilla PS4 Pro where Sam it runs beautifully on a regular PS4 and looks beautiful in 1080p. But obviously, 4K has got to be incredible. But
Yeah,
don't be worried about playing it on.
I've
a
actually played in 4K in the office, but I don't have a 4K television, so I'm playing, Xbox One X 1080p or whatever. It looks fantastic. Just like grass and mud and snow and sunsets and weather are all just the best looking that they can possibly be. And what Rockstar does is they say you can go to all these places and you can see the beauty of our game, but it's like there's a piece of glass in front of it. and you can't ever touch it. You can't ever feel it or interact with it because you're following somebody, and the most beautiful way to experience the game, I'll give a couple examples, is to go into cinematic mode while you're following another person or while you're going to a place that you're going to. The camera angles are incredible, and they show like these amazing, panoramic shots of the world, right? And while you're doing that, like, unfortunately, when you follow people, you have to like tap A or hold A the whole time, which is like really annoying. Otherwise, if you're by yourself, you can set a waypoint and have the cinematic camera go off. But most of the time you're playing that game, you're just watching it. You're watching that cinematic camera. Like that's how much travel you do in the game. So say you're going to go out and explore. Well, once you get off your horse and you're not traveling, at that point, it's so retro because everything you have to do is based on how high you can jump or how steep of a thing you can climb, whether it's on your horse or on your feet. And so here's an example. Last night I was at this like chimney rock, and it was so cool. It was like this gorgeous, neat, southwestern looking chimney rock with grass all around it. And I could see a little nook in it. And I was like, oh, I wonder if there's a treasure in there. I didn't have a treasure map or anything. So I go up to it, and I run up the side of the hill, and I slide down, and I run up the side of it, and I kind of get up there. And I'm like, oh, cool. I think I can start, surmounting this. And I actually got up on a ledge, and I started working my way around.
Nice.
And I almost got to where I needed, but then I saw I can't really go that way unless I jump. So I jumped, and I died. And when I died, the horse I was with disappeared. My horse reappeared with none of the hunting stuff I had. I was just no way for me to recover from that, and I tried a few more times, but there's just no way to get up on that stupid rock. So it's like that. I think how far that is from Breath of the Wild, which is like look at our world, find something interesting, and go there and crawl all over it and just feel it. In this game, everything stops you from feeling that world, but you get to watch the world, and that's amazing. That part of it's amazing.
You mentioning just the design of that world and how exploring it, I mean, you pointed out in some ways that it doesn't feel satisfying, but in other ways it's very satisfying. Reminded me that I'm really impressed with the transitions to area feel very realistic and lifelike. And it's not, even Red Dead 1 was a little bit of like, now I'm in the desert area, now I'm in the snowy area. But in this game, like the ride down from the snowy mountains into the more temperate climate plains is like very, very gradual and steady. And like the time that it must have taken them, like that's why this game took 8 years to make, is because like slowly and stuff. Like I didn't
even starts getting muddy, and it patches out.
Like I didn't even notice it was happening. Like fewer and fewer pine trees and being replaced with more temperate climate trees. And I'm like, how did they do that? And it's the same with desert. Like slowly and slowly more cacti.
It looks so fun to make. Like artists would have a great time making that transition.
I hope so.
Well, like you brought up the sequence going from the snowy mountaintops to the more the
heartland.
The next
is what they call it.
Camp. And like, just think they had to like make all those characters pack up all the little pieces of geometry into a thing, and like all that actually happens.
Yeah, the camp actually gets packed up and moved.
Yeah.
There's like the level of detail is unfathomable. Like I don't know how. Like when it was GTA 5, we're like, how is Rockstar going to do this again? And then with Red Dead, they've sort of surpassed themselves. And then now I'm saying it again. Like, how is Rockstar ever going to surpass themselves? Like a lot of it is character interactions now. Like you can't do missions in any order, but you usually have a variety of things. Like, I want to do this, and then this, and then this. And they'll respond to, like, oh, man, that was a crazy thing we did last night. And, like, what if I'd done that mission first? Like, do they have 8 versions of dialogue between characters? Like, just the amount of thought that they put into how you interact with your characters it's, like, mind-boggling to me. Like, it's going to take so long. People are still going to be discovering things about this game for years. I ran into a character well off the beaten path that reference that I had a conversation with about something that had happened previously in the game. And I'm like, no one else is ever going to ride this way and find this man. That's how it feels to me, but maybe that's just video game magic. And actually, a lot of people are going to find him and talk to him. But
well, there was a campfire side story I experienced where this character, I won't say his name, but like he just talked about his late wife, and it was actually this really touching story about like how much he misses her and thinks about her every day. And I'm like, this is kind of crazy. Like, he's just kind of telling people around the campsite that you're all just hanging out drinking, right? And
it's so missable and so moment. like that's what gets me is I'm like, how much stuff is in this game that like people are just going to blow by if they're not taking their time.
And if you're listening to this and thinking like these are the experiences that we took out of it, and you really need to evaluate, like, does that sound fun to you, and is that okay for it not to be fun? Because and Chloe Rad, one of our editors here, wrote an article you can look up called do video games have to be fun? And this is like the best example of one that's like maybe you can get entertainment value out of this, but like there's rare moments where I'm like, wow, that was so fun. It's just like that was interesting or that was impressive or, you know, a lot of times it's like that was depressing and that was, you know, kind of a bummer.
That's definitely where my head's at right now. To be fair, I'm not super far in Red Dead right now. And the point that I stopped is actually I'm getting more invested in the story and I'm sort of propelled forward by the drama that's happening to want to keep playing. So, you know, maybe next week I'll feel differently. But where I'm at right now is I think Red Dead is overall a much better game than something like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but I have more fun playing that moment to moment. Like just the wish fulfillment and power fantasy of, you know, leaping off a mountain, landing, you know, spearing a dude in the face, then I complete a mission, I'm on my boat, I'm sailing around ancient Greece, it's funny, you know, it's silly, you know, the game world is there to serve you. Like Red Dead couldn't be more different from that. Like Red Dead, the level of care and attention to detail and thoughtfulness in that game is unparalleled. There's never been a game like that. But like Sam was saying, that doesn't necessarily make it fun in like a moment to moment the way a game like, I don't know, like Spider-Man.
Or even Spider-Man, I was going to say,
We go to movies that aren't fun, and we accept that. Or we read books that aren't fun. It's just games
I
don't
try not
usually
to,
work
though.
that way.
I'd still say it's fun,
true, right?
but I'd still say it's fun, but it's definitely not one note. It's definitely a spectrum of like experiences. You know, there's going to be moments that make you feel sad. There's going to be moments that are fun that are like, oh man, I felt really cool doing that. But yeah, just don't expect a one note game. It's going to be all over.
Well, they also, you know, the game does a really good job in the intro. They maybe go a little over the top with this, but like they give you a menu of like everything that the Wild West is. Like you can bounty hunt, or you can just hunt animals, you know, or you can be on the run from the law, or you can sort of be a member of the law. And like in the beginning, you know, you can play poker, and like there's a mission that like there's a reason why you're doing what you're doing, but it's basically like the poker tutorial mission. Like go here, learn how to play poker. Go here and learn how the bounty system works. And so the game takes a very, very long time to get going. And I think at the end of that, that will add up to like, wow, I just had a really epic, amazing Wild West adventure. But in the moment,
it feels like it's hard to get there, man. Like it's so overwhelming that right now I always like to pick what I want to do in a game, and I don't know how to do that with this game. Like I don't know what I should do.
I still want to do fishing. I still want to go play poker. I want to go hunt the legendary animals. And that's just extra stuff you can do. I remember in GTA 5, like I really liked their golf system because it was basically like Tiger Woods, an old version of Tiger Woods inside of GTA 5. And Red Dead's doing a lot of the same stuff. They have an amazing poker game system that you can play, an amazing hunting system. It's awesome.
It's going to be really interesting to see what the reaction is to this game. I have no doubt it's going to be a huge commercial success, but I think there are probably some people who are fans of GTA 5 and GTA Online, people that have been playing AC Odyssey and Spider-Man recently that are going to be a little bit surprised at the slower pace of this game. So it'll be interesting to see what the long-term reaction is to Red
I can't
Dead
wait to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on. We got plenty of other stuff to cover this week. Of course, Halloween is less than a week away.
Yes.
Good time to take stock of all the upcoming horror games on the horizon. And I think the next big one is going to be Resident Evil 2, the remake, which is out January 25th, my birthday eve.
Nice. Oh. And you love Resident Evil 2 already.
I do. And actually, I don't think I've played it since it was originally released on PlayStation 1 in 1997.
Is that
or
the
8?
one out of the original tank control games?
What do you mean?
Like, is that the best one?
I mean, it was better
I
than
think the original.
It's better
or
than
two.
1.
You think so?
Well, I think Resident Evil 2
I think
definitely is an
one-
improvement on 1.
I mean, I'm a little biased because I never played 2, to be fair. But, you know, in my mind, 1 with the mansion, you know, and everyone knows all the twists and turns that game has.
Yeah, but now it was remade when it was remade for GameCube. That was so much better.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like,
I love the remake. But I've never played 2 in any way because it's not easy to get to.
No.
But I played it, you know, the demo at E3, and it was my favorite game at E3. I mean, we talked about it on the show.
It was really impressive at E3.
So I love Resident Evil 4 so much, and I think the series has gotten away from doing the right stuff for a little while, and 2 seems like it's getting it just right.
well, I liked 7 a lot.
Yeah, I like 7. It
And
just wasn't 4.
that was also it wasn't 4, but it was also a January game, I think, and I think that's a fun time to put out a horror game. So I look forward to that.
That's true.
Then I think the next one after that, recently delayed, is Days Gone. That one's now out April 26th.
And that's like a thriller game, but
No, it's a zombie game.
The zombie horde game. We also don't really know how like that could feel very open worldy, or it could feel very horror themed. You know, we're kind of just gonna have to wait and see. That was the game that blinked from the February 22nd day, where Days Gone and Anthem.
Anthem.
What was the other really, really big game?
Crackdown.
Maybe.
We'll
Is that
see.
it? Well, you think that'll be?
There's something else. But, I mean, that day was like the most stacked for kind of no reason. And we knew some game was going to move off that date, and Days Gone was the one that ended up moving.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not a good look for a game to be that long in development and keep getting delayed. I like the basic premise of just tons of zombies on screen in open world. I like that, but
I mean, I've never been that impressed with what I've seen from E3, but I don't necessarily agree. Like they knew someone had to move off of that date, and it never hurts to give people another few weeks of polish.
Yeah, that's true. Then there are some big horror games of 2019. We don't have release dates yet. Are you guys familiar with the game A Plague Tale: Innocence? We had this one on our E3 live show. It's an indie game.
Is that that's the one where there's the rats everywhere, right?
There are swarms of rats everywhere. You're controlling two children, basically, and you have to guide them around the 3D game world. Keep staying in the light, or else the rats will swarm you and literally eat the skin off of your
great
bones.
Good.
It's freaky.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That one's pretty spooky. That's called A Plague Tale: Innocence, coming
What was
sometime
the
next
other
year.
big rat game this year?
There was a big rat game?
Well, there's that Warhammer. There's
Warhammer.
Vermintide.
That's what it was.
Oh, well, that's
Vermintide.
just like humanoid rats.
Yeah.
That's
Are
fine.
they? They're not,
characters
they're not
in-
tiny rats.
Well, they were very big.
Big rats.
Yeah. And then Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night.
Ritual of
Ritual
the
of the
Night.
Night.
Should finally be coming in
So
2019.
hyped. And now that Symphony of the Night is going to be available on PS4, you can prep yourself for it.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in just a second here.
Nice.
Also next year is Luigi's Mansion 3.
Or
Let's not forget about that one.
The scariest.
Yeah. The horrifying experience of
we
Luigi's
just reviewed
Mansion 3.
Luigi's Mansion. Jared Petty did it, friend of the show, and it came out on 3DS.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because it's like a widescreen port of the GameCube game on 3DS.
Yeah, so the original Luigi's Mansion was a GameCube game. And
Launch game.
Mm-hmm.
and then got remade on the 3DS, and then Luigi's Mansion 2 also came out on the 3DS. But now 3 didn't a remake also hit Switch?
No, this is the first remake. of
Okay.
it. It's interesting, and they added co-op, and you play as a
Ghost.
ghost version of ectoplasmic Luigi.
Love it. I'm only asking because I've never just gotten around to the Luigi's Mansion franchise, but I like the idea of it, and so I'm kind of trying to figure out what's the best way for me to jump in now.
Maybe 3.
It's another slower paced game that some people really like.
Audio.
And then Castlevania Requiem is out this week. That includes Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood. It's for PS4. I wish I could give that a hearty recommendation, but it's kind of like compared to other recent retro collections like the Mega Man Legacy Collection. It's kind of like a bare bones sort of like cheap feeling package. It's the PSP emulated version of Symphony of the Night.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah, just kind of like
I'm a little.
But is that improved in some way, or is it just like
it's like 1080p now, but I mean, it's just kind of like they didn't do it. There's nothing like extra or special to it. And then just like if you look at like the title screen menus, it just looks really
The title
cheap
screen's
and
hilarious.
confusing and like
What's- really?
you can't even tell like which game you're actually selecting. It's hard to tell at least. Yeah, so it's just kind of
did
like
you try the other game, Rondo of Blood?
I haven't jumped into Rondo of Blood yet, although I am looking forward to that because I've never actually played it.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be
We
really
I have mixed feelings about that because on the one hand, like we have ports and collections now that give you all kinds of extras and bonuses and just history lessons on the game and little mini art galleries and stuff inside. But on the other hand, I never look at any of that garbage. All I want is just give me a good version of the game, and that's all I care about. So
Yeah.
if it delivers on that, then
I in the Mega Man Legacy collections, I like
Yeah.
flipped through it all and appreciated that it was there.
Well, and those like are like how they add rewind features and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's the kind of treatment that's really
Sure.
Save states.
I don't know if I'd want that in
Don't need that
Symphony of
in-
the Night,
yeah.
but maybe I don't know.
Oh, they also like redid some of like the voice work in the PSP version.
Ooh, I don't like that.
I know, yeah. I want the original terrible voice work
Yeah.
from the PlayStation game.
Should at
just
least
like
be an
Resident
option.
Evil.
Yeah.
Part of the charm.
Yeah, so anyway, it was nice to have that on PS4 finally, but it's not like the most impressive package. So even though there aren't like a ton of horror games on the horizon, there are always horror games in our past. And I've been reading a lot about them in this new book, Hardcore Gaming 101 presents The Guide to Retro Horror.
Nice.
It opens up with, of course,
Of
Ghosts and Goblins.
course. Does it have Splatterhouse in there?
Splatterhouse is in here, of course.
It's one of your personal favorites, right?
Splatterhouse is a big favorite of
Does
mine.
the game count? You play as the bad guy in Splatterhouse, though, right?
No.
Aren't you the
Well,
masked man?
Yeah, but you're like a regular guy whose girlfriend is kidnapped into the evil mansion, and when
it.
he shows up to rescue her, the mask plants itself on your face and gives you the power to defeat all the monsters and rescue.
It's really
They
interesting.
did a remake.
It's
of that.
really interesting.
Yeah.
They made a remake in 2010, and it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
It was a game.
It was definitely a game that was trying to be extreme and over the top.
I just think
and violent.
Splatterhouse, the name and the logo and everything, are just like so cool.
Yep.
Dude, that was just like the
just love
ultimate Damie game in 1988.
Yeah.
I loved Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, all those splatter movies, and like they made a game called Splatterhouse,
Yeah.
where the whole thing is just supposed to be gore and gross out stuff. Yeah.
I think it may have been one of the first games to have like a parental advisory thing on it. That was before it was like widely implemented.
I played it in the arcade, and then it was the reason I wanted a TurboGrafx 16.
Yeah.
It was going to be
You got
available
one.
on my console, and I got one. Ghouls and Ghosts is in here. Of course, that's the arcade sequel to Ghosts and Goblins. I think, and that one came to. This is confusing. Ghouls and Ghosts came to the Genesis. Yeah, okay. I guess it's not super confusing because Super Ghouls and Ghosts came to Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and Ghouls and Ghosts was also an arcade machine.
An interesting thing about, I'm just kind of realizing it flipping through this book is like horror is a mechanical genre now, right? Like
Yeah.
survival horror is a
but it used
gameplay
to
style.
It used to be a setting.
It used to be an aesthetic, and a setting.
Because of course,
that-
Ghosts and Goblins mechanically isn't different from Contra, right?
And we struggle with that, even at IGN, like our Game of the Year awards and stuff, where we have a horror category, but we don't have one for like sci-fi and other settings because it sort of straddles the line between there's just certain tropes and things that happen in the gameplay of horror games that don't happen anywhere else.
Yeah. Gargoyles Quest is in here, which was a Game Boy game.
That's a weird choice.
And then Gargoyles Quest 2 was an NES game.
This is a cool book.
With like a 2-year difference between them. Then there's Demon's Crest, which is a sequel that came out to Super Nintendo, which is feel like a overlooked and
That
underrated
is
game.
related to the Gargoyles Quest.
It's like the third one in that series. You're playing as Firebrand, the
I
little
thought
demon
Demon's
guy.
Quest was the pinball game.
Demon's Crest.
Ah.
That's what I'm saying here. And this is like a 2D action game that has like huge, gigantic, impressive bosses on Super Nintendo. And then they sort of like try to reboot the Ghosts and Goblins series on PlayStation 2 with Maximo.
I remember that.
Yeah.
What? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it's
Maximo?
yeah, it's called Maximo, but it's set in like the Ghosts and Goblins universe and plays the same way, but in 3D.
Do you lose your armor and the
Yes,
underpants
yes,
on?
yes.
Really?
Yes, you do.
Funny.
They made a sequel to that for PlayStation 2. They have this whole Splatterhouse series in here. It's interesting that Splatterhouse 2 and 3 were Genesis exclusives.
Okay, so I was wondering about that. There were some sequels, but they're Genesis.
Yeah, because it was considered the more mature.
So didn't he get his girlfriend back at the end of the first one?
Yeah, but he just can't. She keeps wandering off. And then the
Gotta put on this cursed mask again.
The 2010 remake is in here. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is in here.
Oh,
great.
man, love that
And
game.
its sequel, Ghoul Patrol, which was a Super Nintendo exclusive and
What?
not
That
as
game
good.
got a sequel?
Yeah, but it's not as good.
Okay.
It's not as good.
Great name, though.
Ghoul
Yeah.
Patrol.
They have a whole making of Zombies Ate My Neighbors in here. Monster Party's in here.
Yeah, and Monster Party, there is a party and there's monsters, but the cool thing about it is that you fight these crazy bosses like
They're giant.
chicken legs and wishing wells.
Monsters like to party. One thing, I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she really likes spookies and really likes Halloween. And there's this whole genre of kids' books where there's all these spooky monsters and they're gathering, and it seems all spooky and ominous. Then at the end of the book, it turns out they're having a party. I've read like 10 children's books that all end the same way. Like then there were 9 black cats and the zombies come up out of the ground. Then on the last page, it's always the same twist. Oh,
Yeah.
they're just going to a monster party.
Yeah, that's good. There are 6 pages on Monster Party in here, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Deep dive.
Haunted House for the 2600 is in here, which is a
Yeah.
great example of just like amazing box art for a game that's just super basic. And
One day they'll make the game that looks like the box.
they should
art.
make a game that looks like the box art.
But that's like explore. It's kind of like adventure where you're just exploring room after room. And
Yeah, searching for-
Sometimes there's a bat.
Searching for items. You're controlling just 2 eyes in the dark.
Do you know that Way Forward, the developers of Shantae, made a Goosebumps point-and-click adventure game?
No, I didn't
Goosebumps
know that.
licensed. And it's actually like not bad. It's like totally competent
Work
and
for hire
interesting.
stuff.
And
I'd totally forgotten that in 2010 they made a new Haunted House game for Xbox Live Arcade based on the 2600 game.
Yeah, vaguely.
did you ever play The Thing on PS2?
No,
Or was it on PS2?
it was
Yeah,
on PS2. I think it was on Xbox and
Yeah,
GameCube as well.
Maybe it was only Xbox actually.
Anyway, I've been having fun reading that book this Halloween season.
There's a great CD-ROM section in there with a bunch of like the.
Well, like in Amiga games
Yeah,
and
it's really funny.
old like Apple II games.
What's the book and where can people get it?
You can find it on Amazon. It's the Hardcore Gaming 101 Guide to Retro Horror. Now, Sam in particular, we've known that they were sort of rebooting the Intellivision brand for a while and bringing out a new Intellivision console. Remind us what the Intellivision was in the first place.
Yeah, the Intellivision was interesting because it was a competition for Atari 2600, and it looks a little bit better. It's kind of an upgrade. But what was cool about it is that it came with 2 controllers attached to it that looked really different than other controllers, and they had a number pad, which is like that sounds awful,
like a telephone
right?
number pad.
But on the left side they have a D-pad. So if you hold it like a Nintendo controller, it's actually the first controller that just like was popular that had that. It's just a very competent, good 8-way D-pad, just like the NES. Like so, the games feel really good because on the right side where that number pad is, looks like a telephone. You actually took these little pieces of plastic and you slid them over that, and then it said what the buttons were. So you didn't ever
each
like
game. It was specific to each game.
Yeah.
like putting an overlay over your TV monitor.
Yeah, it was like a very thin plastic film, and so like it would say you would just reduce it to maybe A, B, and C buttons or something like that. So the significance for me is that the games are just better because you can control them like an NES controller, and I just felt like that was a big advancement at the time. Now there were exclusives like Shark,
and each shark has an exclamation point on it.
Got it.
Make
Shark.
Make sure you don't misspell it.
And there was all the Activision games that came. Activision left. There were people that left Atari because they weren't allowed to say
credit
for their
developers.
games, and so they put their games out on Intellivision and Atari after that, and stuff like that. So there's a library of games. Now again, they're simplistic. They're not NES games, and they're interesting. But now it's back as kind of a concept system.
Yes.
That's more based on the Wii than the Intellivision, I'd say, in concept.
New Intellivision.
They're making a new Intellivision, and it already has a release date, October 10th, 2020. 10/10/2020.
They announced a lot of games to develop.
A lot of games are coming to it. That release date is way off in the distance.
Yes.
It's 2 years from now. Who knows where will I be or what planet we'll be living on at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that they would put their stake in the ground that far in advance. But
it's also like there's a decent sized chance next gen consoles are going to be coming.
Well,
with that.
I would expect them to. So,
but they're they have to right now say there's the Microsoft and Sony Nintendo booths at E3 and Intellivision. They got to set up their space because Atari's going to want a space too.
Well, that's the thing. Atari has its new console coming out next spring.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know. It's confusing how they're setting up. The president of Intellivision today is Tommy Tallarico, video game composer.
Yeah.
And I think he put together Video Games Live also, right?
That's
a
awesome.
long
and
time
I interviewed him.
industry
You can read some of the interview. Just a huge Intellivision fan. So it's like it couldn't be a better person that is just interested in games to get behind this. Just so we're all on the same page there.
And he's got some quotes here. Justin, this console's aimed at you.
Okay.
He says,
Lay it on
we are
me.
creating a console that parents want to buy,
I'm a parent.
not that they were asked to buy. So the whole
So
idea...
the idea is my daughter's going to be asking me, Dad, I want the new Intellivision.
and you're going to want to buy it. Yeah.
okay.
He says most every game being made for the home consoles these days is created with only the hardcore gamer in mind. We see a world where everyone is interested in playing at home with friends, but this isn't currently possible because the barrier to entry is nearly impossible for a non-gamer due to the complexity of the controllers, intricacy of gameplay, expense of the hardware and software, and steep learning curve with an unbalanced fun factor for the beginner.
Okay.
Our goal was to create a console that both gamers and non-gamers are able to have fun with and play together. The Intellivision Amico is our answer to this gaping hole we see with the current video game industry.
I'm immediately skeptical. I mean, I'll go into it with an open mind, but
Surely it brings memories of the Ouya.
well,
mind.
or Wii. But the thing that jumps to mind right now is the Switch, right? Like the Switch is very friendly, and you can get the Jackbox Party Pack and Mario Party. And then I could have my mom was coming to visit, and I didn't dig out the Switch and play it with her. But she's 65 and could have we could have just as easily jumped into some Switch games. So,
I agree with you, but just to play slight devil's advocate,
Sure.
The Switch controllers when I was reviewing Mario Party
It is kind of a hassle.
not
It's always
great.
like a hassle syncing them.
and getting them all. And then also when you hold them, even though they have the basic layout of an NES controller, they're also very confusing still to hold on their sides and stuff. And I think, honestly, I saw the controllers for this and I wasn't super impressed by their simplicity.
Yeah.
But that's the goal. And I think the Wii controller was really good at that because you only held it like a remote control for a television, and people really got that. And so this would have to bridge that gap.
an inexpensive, but nicely made sort of party game oriented console. That makes sense.
I'm pretty skeptical. I mean, all these manufacturers that have come out and tried to compete in the market, they always fall flat on their face, and we haven't seen one be successful yet. I am glad to hear in the press release, though, that they're hoping people have fun with the console as opposed to not having fun.
Yeah. But Damon, let me
So
ask you
Red
this.
Dead 2 won't be on the console.
Yeah,
Is it going to have make or break for me? Is it going to have Miner 2049er?
Let me check my notes. Yes.
Okay.
That's going to be on
Good.
there. Perrin Kaplan is working with them, and Perrin Kaplan was long-time Nintendo PR, head of PR through the 90s and early 2000s.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they're aiming for $150 to $180 for the console.
So like an actual console. This isn't like
cheaper than
It's going to be
PS4.
Download only. It's not going to have carts.
Everything will be download only, and everything is like $7. Is that the idea? Every game is $7.
That's weird.
They'll be in Intellivision classics reimagined and remade exclusively for the Intellivision Amico, like Astro Smash, Shark, a bunch of games I never heard of. Night Stalker doesn't sound like a terribly kid-friendly game, but
that's the haunted house type game for the system. It has a great cover art.
And this is weird. Atari classics will be reimagined and remade exclusively for the Intellivision Amico, even though Atari has their own console coming out.
We've talked before on Scoop about just the weird corporate twists and turns of Atari. Like one company owns the hardware rights and another company owns all the software rights, and then I think a third company actually has the name.
I like how when the Atari came out, I did a conversation with Tom Marks about who is this for, and I still don't know who it's for. Like that's more like the Ouya to me. They came out swinging, saying this is what it's for.
That's true,
and it's not for me. And so it's hard for me to evaluate it. Although I really like the idea of only having 2D games from developers that know what they're doing, and that's all really interesting to me.
And then check this out. Other games reimagined and remade exclusively for the Intellivision Amico include Miner 2049er, Bad Dudes, Caveman Ninja, R-Type.
Caveman Ninja is Joe and Mac, right? There's not some other Caveman Ninja.
And Toe Jam and Earl. But they're making a new Toe Jam and Earl.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
It's really...
That's a very weird and bizarre mix of games from like the variety of different companies.
I agree.
Okay.
We didn't mention Burger Time.
Super Burger Time is the one that's on there. Not the original. They specifically said Super Burger Time. A game I like, but that is very
I don't know
obscure.
the difference. I've only played Burger Time.
It's pretty obscure.
It's got an extra. It's got a third bun in the middle.
It's got 2-player cooperative play, making gigantic burgers, and it has an anime art style. So,
Burger Time, dude, is an underrated game from that era.
I love Burger Time.
It's very fun.
Maybe it's accurately rated, but I just don't. I don't know. It's all I'm saying is I like
10
Burger
out of 10.
Yeah.
Burger Time is a 10 out of 10. All right, please be excited for 10/10/2020 and the launch of the Intellivision Amico.
The console render looked cool.
I don't know.
Damon hates it.
It's white like a Wii. Yeah, it looks kind of just like
It looks exactly
ugly
like
and
a Wii.
generic. And I'm not crazy. The controllers don't have buttons. They have like a
We
disc.
can talk about that real quick.
It has a disc circle.
That is the same
pad,
thing from Intellivision.
and then like a
that can
touch
work as-
screen for buttons. So it's like
That's what Valve did, right? For one of their controllers.
Yeah.
And it's that has buttons on like the top and bottoms. If you
but
could
it's like-
trigger them if you needed to, but
That's not the buttons should be on the front.
they're trying to replace that number pad gel situation with touchscreen.
All right, let's check in with the listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Hey,
Listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address
Games.
GameScoop
Yeah.
at IGN.com.
Please don't email Game Spook. We don't know where that will go.
Or
we'll set it
OmegaCops at IGN.com. We'll try to get
just for Halloween mail.
we'll try to get Game Spook set up, but it's not currently set up.
Don't send us anything but spookies.
Anyway, Eugene Rice writes in today, who says, with the exit of now Jade Raymond and the earlier exit of Amy Hennig, do you think that EA could be mismanaging its top tier talent? And of course, he's referencing the news this week that Jade Raymond left Motive,
Crazy.
EA studio that she came and formed and put together.
Her origin is all
4 years
Assassin's
ago.
Creed stuff.
From
Ubisoft. Not her origin story, but that's what she's most known for. Is the director of the first Assassin's.
Yeah.
And then Amy Hennig is Uncharted.
Well, Jade Raymond also helped launch
Legacy of
Watch
Kain.
Dogs and Splinter Cell Blacklist back in the day.
Well, that was because she's formed studios. She was brought into Ubisoft to form. Is it Toronto? The Toronto studio that made
Ubisoft
those games.
Montreal?
Yeah.
In Montreal, yeah, maybe you're right. Montreal, and left before those games shipped. So I just want to squash. I'm seeing people be like, "Man, I haven't heard from her in a while. What has she been working on?" But she went to that studio, formed it, built it, and then left. And I actually don't know if there was drama or no drama surrounding that. But that was before Blacklist shipped. But that's still very much her mark is all over the formation of that studio.
Yeah, and then she went to EA Motive. She's been there for 4 years.
Similar situation now.
And of course, we know that they were helping with this canceled Star Wars game, the big 3D.
The press release about Jade
game
leaving Motive. Sorry to interrupt you, but the press release about Jade leaving Motive is very strange.
It is.
They buried it.
It's very
buried
strange.
in the bottom half of it. Also, Jade is leaving.
They have this whole press release on how they're restructuring and here's how we're going to do things. We're setting up things differently, and then Oh, and by the way, the head of the studio is out of the studio.
But that studio has been around for 4 years.
Yeah.
and all they've shipped is the single player campaign for Battlefront 2. It's crazy. Like, what are these people doing every day for years
But
and
that's
years?
not. So that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So they worked on that for
Yeah.
2 years, and now 2 years they're working on something else. Like that's
Yeah.
not that. That's
Well,
what AAA is.
I'm generally
Strange to me.
a little concerned about EA. They've been making strange moves today. We found out today that Battlefield is coming out with no Battle Royale mode. Like the Battle Royale mode is going to launch in the spring,
Yeah.
far after the launch of the game.
Yep,
Meanwhile,
that's
Call of Duty's eating up like all those players. Everybody's checking that out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. Battlefield was delayed, right? So there's a lot of weird stuff going on at EA right now. This studio restructure is also strange.
I mean, I understand the perspective of what has Motive been doing for 4 years, but every Call of Duty takes 3 years to make, right? They rotate through 3 studios to make a Call of Duty. Like that's sort of the standard for a AAA game these days. So I don't know if they're troubled or not, but their output is not particularly unusual.
So EA's business concerns aside, I'm more concerned about Jade Raymond and Amy Hennig, two of my favorite game designers, now have to start over from scratch. And like, we're not going to get a game from them for 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, to get back to the question, are they
sucks to lose that
mismanaging their
time.
top talent? Yeah.
Yeah, Eugene's Rice question is, do you think Microsoft could try and start new studios with either or both
Hell
Jade
yeah.
and Amy?
Maybe
Would
they're
that be
already-
plausible?
Be snatched
that'd be
up.
awesome.
I'm sure they've already been snatched up.
Yeah. Yeah. What
I don't know.
did Amy ever say where she went?
That's what I was just wondering. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. But
That could be a big get for Microsoft.
Yeah, we know that they're trying to build up their portfolio with what's the coalition that's
Yep.
what they announced at.
But again, starting from scratch, it just means years and years.
I know.
Hopefully, they'll get attached to cool projects they can be influential on. But those are the type of developer where it's like they should start, their own studio and make their own game because that's what they're good at.
Yeah.
And like just joining another project, maybe at EA might be kind of disappointing. I don't know.
Easy to say. They need that investment capital. That's a hard thing to start. Get the ball rolling on.
Counterpoint, just reboot Legacy of Kain, please.
Yes.
You've gone too long.
Yeah.
Got a big
Who do you think
Legacy of
owns
Kain
that
game.
Amy Hennig.
Crystal Dynamics.
That's a good question. I was gonna say Square. I don't know.
Well, they had that
know.
weird
Because I think they were IDOS games.
shooter
They were IDOS.
thing that was based in the universe. There was that leaked remake that they were going to do that never came to light.
I don't know if that was ever real.
Thanks, Omega Man.
EA, we are halfway through EA's 10-year sort of possession of the Star Wars video
Halfway
game
through?
license.
Oh, no.
They've completely.
All we've gotten are 2 Battlefront games.
Yeah.
And
A bunch
there's
of
been
mobile
some mobile
games.
games too.
yeah, and to be
But
fair,
like-
those mobile games probably make as much or more money.
Sure,
than
but
That's
like
the goal,
games
right?
for us and our audience,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
not really concerned with
They,
those.
it's definitely been not. It's not gone according
Yeah,
to
'cause
plan.
we know
It's clear
Visceral's
as
game
day.
just got canceled. Yeah, it just seems like it's not a good use of Star Wars license. Why aren't there more Star Wars video games? Where's
Space
like
Shooter would be cool.
the Marvel Spider-Man of
Yeah.
of the Star Wars.
I mean,
games.
what do I know? I've never run a video game studio. It's very easy to sit behind a desk and be like, obviously you make these games, but it does feel like don't overthink it. Like, make a dope ass Jedi adventure game, make a space game, and then make a Battlefront every 2 or 3 years. Like,
Okay, moving on a little bit to a game we've been playing a lot of, but probably has a hard stop as of today. That's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And we got an email here from Brian. He says, "Hey guys, I'm a longtime listener. I've been listening to Scoop since day one. I was thinking about Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and the series in general. I've played a handful of games in the series, but I've never been a huge fan. Odyssey is sitting shrink-wrapped next to the rest of my back catalog, along with Origins. They have not been a big priority for me.
I thought he said bat catalog.
Like many others, I am not fond of the modern day stuff and feel like I have missed out on the story. I typically enjoy the games when I do play them, but think they are being held back a bit by the assassins aspect. How'd you feel if Ubisoft made a series of games set in various time periods and locations without ties to the Assassin's Creed games, but featured similar gameplay and RPG elements like Odyssey? I don't think the traditional Assassin's Creed series should go away. There are clearly people who enjoy those aspects, but I feel like Ubisoft could be doing more. Instead of a new Assassin's Creed every year, one of the teams could be freed up to work on this other stuff.
Well, they're
Thoughts?
kind of doing that. Skull and Bones.
Yeah, the Pirates
For
game was-
Honor.
But that's a
kinda did
different
that.
thing. We're talking about, imagine if Assassin's Creed Odyssey was that game, but without the Assassin's Creed.
I mean,
name.
It's Black Flag without
Odyssey,
the Assassin's Creed.
he
right?
said Odyssey is shrink wrap. Like that game has very, very minimal modern day stuff. Like
That's true.
You pop out of the Animus and you can be back in there in I think literally you could be back in there in 2 minutes. They force you to like go over and take some medicine.
Yeah.
And then there's some emails and bullshit you can read, but just
you
ignore all
don't
that.
have to
Just
do
get
that,
back in that animus ASAP.
For the people that like the modern day stuff, there's lots of stuff to sort of investigate and read about, but you don't have to do that.
But I don't.
Totally, but I'm level 35 in that game. That's pretty far along.
You made it farther than me.
Yeah, I can get there at this point, and I only played. There hasn't been any more of that.
Yeah, you pop out once.
They really liked making a game set in ancient Greece, and I think that was the focus, and I think that was the right thing to do for this game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if taking out the assassin stuff would make much of a difference, but there is all this Templar assassin stuff that, like, I don't think it hurts the game necessarily. I just ignore it.
Well, there is. It's getting weirder and weirder the more time that goes on. I love Odyssey. It's one of my absolute favorite games of the year. But you're not an assassin in that game.
No,
you're not an assassin
You're
in
a
that
warrior.
game, and it's predate. And I understand that there's lore stuff that you get into later in Odyssey, but it predates the Templars versus Assassins conflict. They clearly don't care about the modern day aspect. So why? Like, what's the benefit of having it tied to this franchise? Like,
well, the name recognition.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the business benefit, but I don't know. I'm torn between this is the right direction for the franchise from a gameplay perspective, I think, but they're drifting farther and farther. Like, what's the identity of Assassin's Creed? Like, it used to be, stealthy, blending in with crowds. Like, they're not bothering with any of that anymore.
Yeah.
Which is fine for me from a gameplay perspective, but was it Christian?
That was from Eugene.
I was reading.
No, that was Christian. Sorry.
So I sort of agree with Christian that maybe
Nope,
they
that's
should.
not it. Brian.
Maybe they should split.
Yeah.
Because just to close out my thought, I didn't actually care for Unity and Syndicate that much, but that sort of set Assassin's Creed down one path that then Origins reset that path.
Yeah.
And now if you dug Unity and Origins in that style of game, like that's just gone now. And so there's an opportunity to bring that back, I think, and still have this historical RPG experience.
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't get better than Brotherhood. Like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is still my favorite Assassin's Creed.
Brotherhood
ever.
and Black Flag are my favorites.
This new take is great, but I would love, like Justin said, to get back to the Assassins versus Templars stuff.
I love the hiding in plain sight and sort of scoping out, your target and how to take them down, and they don't bother with any of that anymore.
It is funny to think about that. In this game, you are Misthios, which is a mercenary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're never sometimes you go kill somebody, but mainly you battle for people in big, army battles or naval battles or things like that. It's so funny. I guess you're not an assassin.
You are the opposite of an assassin.
I try to be stealthy, but like as soon as it goes sideways, I know I'm perfectly capable of just taking down this entire camp
you can just
in open combat. All right, and that brings us to Video Game 20 Questions this week. Our suggestion comes from Rob in Rochester, New York. Omega Cops, let the questioning begin.
Can you see your character's hands?
Yes.
What?
What?
That's an oddly specific question.
Well, now you know.
All right.
Yeah.
You can see your character's hands.
Yeah, great. They're not wearing
A
gloves.
Mega Man's new to this game,
Yeah.
apparently. Is this from before 1990?
No.
Is it current gen consoles?
No.
Somewhere in between. We never get these.
Yeah. Is this from before did this come out before January 1st, 2000?
No.
Is this a 3D game?
Yes.
Oh, man. I bet it's going to be Halloween themed.
Is it one of the is it published by one of the main like Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony?
A first party game?
First party, yeah, sorry.
No.
Okay.
Was this game developed in the United States or North America?
Yes.
Is this game spooky?
Yes.
Yeah, spooky game.
And it's from the 2000s, but not modern day consoles.
All right.
And it's I guess we don't know it's multi-platform, but it's not first party.
No, okay. Wait, did we
you
get
can see your
multi-platform?
Well, no, I'm sorry. It was just not made by Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft.
Eternal Darkness? Sanity's Requiem?
That's a good guess.
Is it multi-platform?
Yes.
Eternal Darkness is still in the running here.
Why is that? Did it come out for something else?
I don't think it stayed on GameCube forever, did it?
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't
it did.
think it's ever been re-released.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
I like getting hung up on that, though.
Is this game part of a franchise?
No. That's 10.
It's a
Okay,
one-off.
standalone spooky game.
Not
for-
Evil Within,
Like PS2
3D.
Made in Not in Japan.
No. Yeah, PS2. 3.
Yeah, made in America.
3D. Can you play as a woman in this game?
No.
Not Eternal Darkness.
Not Dead Rising. Oh, that was made in Japan anyway. Do you play as a woman in the Eternal Dark? Oh, you switch around between view.
But you're mainly Alex, I think is the woman's name.
Is it made by Capcom?
No.
All right.
Well,
That's
we already knew
Japan.
it was made in
That's
America. Omega Man.
Oh yeah. There's an American
I
brand.
almost blew his cover.
He's the hero we don't need.
Oh man.
I'm used to solving murders, not video
Yeah.
game trivia.
I mean, I don't like spooky games, so this is.
Is this game take place in contemporary times?
Yeah. Well, yeah, in the largest sense, yes.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
larger sense. So it's not a past game or future game. All right. So I mean,
3D. So it's not like Chronicles of Riddick.
spooky could
Is
be.
it first person?
What questions are we on? We're on 13.
Yeah.
Does this have zombies in it?
Yes.
Ooh.
So zombie spooky game,
Could be Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, that got a sequel though.
and we said no sequels.
Well, we said not, part of a franchise.
Okay.
Not part of French fries.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead's a good guess. That's close. Zombie, one-off zombie game.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
Did Dead Island?
There
ever get a
was
sequel?
what was the
Rated
Wii U
KS2.
one?
The Wii U one. Oh yeah,
Zombie U.
And that came out on other
Oh.
systems.
Eventually.
Yeah. Is that a part of the generation we've established?
We said made in
Zombie
North
is
America
Ubisoft.
though, and wasn't that game developed in Europe? I mean, it's Ubisoft. I don't know.
I think we just said not Japan. Is that right?
I don't know.
No, you
Did
said
we just say
America
not Japan?
specifically. Justin asked America specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it was developed in North America, and I said yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. North America.
And Zombie U was UK.
That was first person, right?
Yeah.
What are some?
Okay,
Should we
You could see your hands.
narrow down like multiplayer or anything like that?
I wanna like because we know it's 3D. Is this game first person?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Is that
That's
Zombie U?
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dead Island. That got a sequel.
Well, did it ever release?
The sequel.
Yeah.
I don't think Dead Island
There's
2
at
ever
least
Dead
one
Island 2 never
sequel.
did, but they still made the
Dead Island something something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
The one-off zombie game?
And I still don't know what era this is, so that makes it really
Yeah.
hard.
It would State of Decay
What's
eventually
the-
got a
State of Decay
sequel.
got two.
What's this goofy square?
Oh, it's not current gen either.
Could
That was
be
all on current.
could be Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare.
Totally. That's a good one. That's a good one, but it's part of a franchise.
That's true.
What's Rare's zombie game?
Oh yeah, they made Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Oh, Stubbs the Zombie.
And
There's Stubbs the Zombie.
Oddworld. That's part of a thing.
Yeah.
Should we ask if it's like more of a lighthearted zombie game?
I think that's a good one. That could.
Is this a lighthearted zombie game?
Yes.
Wow.
Ooh,
I think
that
it's
was really
Stubbs.
good, Sam.
Wow.
Does this game is it cheating to ask if it has zombie in the title?
That's great.
I don't know if
it's
that's
cheating.
against
I
the
don't know.
rules. Damon, we need a judgment.
Why? I don't. How would that be cheating? Because
Okay, does this game have
if you,
zombie?
you start at
ask it then.
Does this game have zombie in the title?
yes,
It's Stubbs the Zombie. It's got.
What is Stubbs the Zombie?
That
It was
was
this game where you could like rip off your hand and throw it, and then track.
You
people
play
and
as
So
rip out your
obscure.
guts and
you
blow
play
people
as the zombie, and it's sort of like just a third-person adventure game where
And
it's
what's it
mostly
on?
lighthearted Xbox.
You can
And
definitely
was it on
see your
another
hands
system?
'cause it's
Because
they're
I think it was exclusive to Xbox, but
now
it
you
wasn't
can
made
play
by
it on
Microsoft.
stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if it ever got ported. That question throws.
It was
me
actually
off a little.
made by the same guy that created Halo.
That's right. That was its claim to fame.
Yeah.
Weren't you like a detective in life, and then when you died, you were trying to solve something?
Was
as a
this on the
zombie?
Xbox?
yes.
Okay, let's go for it.
All right.
If it's not
Omega Man.
Well,
Mega Man, do the honors.
I'll guess Stubbs the Zombie.
That's correct. Stubbs the Zombie.
Detective
believe we
skills
got
intact.
2005, released on Xbox and PC.
But only in Game Spook would we ever choose that game
Yeah.
for 20 questions.
That's true. It's
a very special
I feel like
episode.
that's a pretty well-known like Xbox game from the time, considering it's made by the guy who made Halo.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Oh, we could have just asked that, and then no,
It's developed by Wide Load.
okay.
Wide Load Games, no longer around.
Who's the Halo person?
Gotta
Is
be
it
Alex.
Alex Seropian, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Published by Aspire, and they are still around. There is a single and multiplayer modes.
Multiplayer.
Yeah. And then the contemporary setting threw me off because I think it might be set in the 50s.
That's fine.
So I was like, yeah, it's in the larger
interesting.
scale of things. It's in the contemporary.
This reminds me of the Destroy All Humans one. That was so hard.
Oh yeah.
Destroy
We
all
got
humans,
down to
man.
open world and it was contemporary time. We just couldn't figure it out.
But did you guess that one? I don't remember.
I don't think we got that one.
We missed it.
Well, you got Stubbs the Zombie.
Yeah, we got Stubbs the Zombie. Thanks to I would have never even come up with that name. Good work, you two.
Detective skills intact.
detective mode.
Did you
just-
use detective mode?
Yeah, of course.
Damon's heart rate is elevated. We're getting close. Yeah.
I wanted to give a quick plug to we have 5 editors in house and then a bunch of freelancers all working on the Red Dead Redemption guide. So once you guys get the game, and by the way, we discovered the most cheats on the internet so far. We've discovered a bunch of cheats in it. Definitely check out our strategy guide. It's big, it's free, and we launched a new design, and it's really exciting.
It's got an awesome map. It's got
It's got the full map. We got an exclusive map asset from Rockstar actually to use for that. So it's
What I like about the strategy guide is if you want to be spoiled and say, show me all the collectibles, show me all the everything, you can do that. Or like it'll sort of reveal to you like, okay, I only want to know like what are the mission requirements for this or that, or you can sort of determine for yourself how much you want to sort of how much help you want.
That's exactly right.
A good detective uses all of the tools at their disposal. So if you're looking for those treasures, which is probably one of the first things you'll get, use the IGN wiki.
Words
Thanks,
of
Omega
wisdom
Man.
from Omega Man. And that is all the the spooks that we have for you this week. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address, gamescoop@ign.com. Thank you, Officer Davis. Officer Claiborne. Thank you,
Sergeant
Omega Man.
Sergeant.
Until next Game Spook, this is IGN Game Spook, and we're out.